to look at for solving quadratic equations is factoring. And factoring is simplest to do when a equals 1, so that's what we'll look at first. Let's consider this quadratic equation. X squared minus 11x plus 28 equals 0. Now you can see that even though we don't write it there, a is 1. The number in front of x squared is 1, and so we don't actually write it. When we're factoring and a is equal to 1, what we're looking for are two numbers that add up to negative 11. So what plus what equals negative 11. So they need to add up to whatever b is, and they need to multiply to make c. Okay, so in this case, we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to make 28 and add up to negative 11. Now, be sure you don't ignore the signs that are in front of each number. Okay? If this is minus 11, that means we're dealing with a negative 11. So if I think about what I can multiply to make 28, well, 2 times 14 works, but 2 and 14 add up to 16, and that's not going to work here. So I think again, and I figure out that 7 times 4 equals 28. But if I add 7 and 4, I get 11, but I need to get negative 11. Luckily, negative 7 times negative 4 also equals positive 28, and negative 7 plus negative 4 also equals negative 11. So I know that the two numbers I was looking for are negative 7 and negative 4. And at this point, I'm ready to do the work of factoring, which means that I write two parentheses, and I pull an x here because x times x is x squared. And then I take these two numbers that I just found, and I say, well, this must be minus 7, and this must be minus 4. And that still equals 0. Now, I could do FOIL to multiply these out again, and I would find that x times x is x squared. Then I get minus 4x minus 7x is minus 11x, and then minus 7 times minus 4 is positive 28. And so all I have done is factored this into two separate pieces. Now, if I have two things multiplied and they equal 0, then one of the things that I'm multiplying has to equal 0. So if x minus 7 equals 0, then the whole equation will equal 0. And if x minus 4 equals 0, the whole thing will equal 0. So what I do is I take each factor that I came up with, and I set that equal to 0, and I solve for x. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and I will find out that x equals 7. Okay. I can do the same thing with the other factor. X minus 4 equals 0. Add 4 to both sides, and we'll find that x equals 4. Now, it's always a good idea, once you find your solution, to go back and make sure it works. So all we have to do is plug this number in for x and see if it really does equal to 0. So when I say 7 squared minus 11 times 7 plus 28, I want to know, does that really equal 0? And that gives me 49 minus 77 plus 28. And of course, if you need to, use a calculator, and you will find that that really does equal 0. Okay. We could do the same thing with 4. If we plugged 4 in for x into our original equation, we would see that it also gives us 0. So we've found our two solutions, x is 7 and x is 4.